What is going on, guys? We are here with another instructional video, somewhere a little bit different. We're in my living room of my apartment rather than in my old bedroom at my parents' house where I normally record, which means that my cat is probably going to be super annoying this whole video and make a bunch of noise and come get in the shot. But if she does, then that's just what it is. But I am doing a video on what I'm looking for whenever I pull up to a spot, and that is because I had somebody ask me on a comment asking me to do a video on this, and actually Johnny just replied right now. So as I'm recording this, Johnny Sullivan replied to me replying to him that I'm gonna do a video on this. So as soon as I saw it, I thought it was a great idea, so I figured, you know what, let's just go ahead and record it, and that's what we're doing right now. First, I want to say that I really appreciate my cat putting her tail in the shot. You done? I really appreciate when y'all comment stuff and ask me to do videos on certain things. There's always stuff I can do instructional videos on because I really enjoy doing that kind of thing. I've said it a million times in my previous videos that I enjoy doing seminars and teaching people new things. But whenever I have a direct question from y'all that I can answer and help y'all with an issue that you're facing, that is what I really like the most. So guys, definitely if there's something you want to see, comment on my videos and ask me to do videos on them, because obviously I will do them. And the comment that Johnny said is, these videos are full of excellent information. How do you assess an area? I catch fish for a living, guys, I'm sorry. How do you assess an area when you pull up to a particular spot? Can you do one that covers pulling up to a spot and making the decision to fish it or move to another spot? And then I said, yes, I will. He said, my biggest struggle is I've been doing a lot of reading, watching videos on see it, make decisions. Obviously, more time on the water, the ultimate goal. Getting better, Okay. Yes, and I also just saw your Facebook message. They changed the messenger around on Facebook for some reason. Like, if you get a message from somebody new, like it goes to a different area, and I just saw it. So, sorry I didn't get back with you before that, but I'm doing a video just for you, Johnny. So, I'm going to kind of clump this into two separate areas. One being when you're fishing an area that you have fished before and you've caught fish there, and you pull up there to fish maybe the next weekend and you caught them there the previous weekend, and you're trying to figure out if you're going to fish it or not. And when you're fishing an entirely new area. Now, I want to say that I did a video I did a podcast. Me and my dad did a podcast with Salt Strong, and they do a bunch of really good stuff on this. I really like what they're doing for the inshore fishing community and saltwater fishing community as a whole. And they have a bunch of really good information. There's stuff on there that I learn every time I go on there. I pick up something new to take out to the water. And I also really wish that this was around like 6-7 years ago, because I'd be way ahead of where I am now, because I learned most of this stuff they're saying on their own. I know there's a bunch of guys on YouTube that do videos and stuff like that. And I definitely recommend checking out their stuff, because I'm just going to kind of go over a general, just a real generalization of everything that they go like super in depth, and they're like hour-long videos. So I definitely recommend watching their stuff, because they go way deep, and a lot of it's the same stuff, but some of it may be different. But whenever I am trying to find a new area, I'm going to use the advantage of satellite footage, satellite imagery, which we have so much access to nowadays with Apple Maps and Google Maps on your phones, and just to get a really good look at a new flat or a new area that you never fished before. And sometimes go back and look at the areas you do fish on satellite image, because there might be a big drop off or a big hole 30 yards out from where you normally drift that you just go by every single time and you didn't realize it was there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up on my phone, try and screen record it, and show y'all what I'm looking at on my phone, what I am looking for an area to fish using like a satellite picture of a flat. And really what I'm going to be looking for is ambush points, depth changes, sand and grass mixture, and easy access to the flat by deep water, which is an easy way for you to get up on the flat and for bait to enter and exit off the flat. And starting off, obviously right here you have a big sandbar right here, which can be a good place for fish to hold up, especially on a strong tide movement. Going down the flat right here, obviously you have this little bayou that goes right here, which could be a place to target fish on these points here. And you know, obviously this is water back in here, but that's super shallow stuff. Probably more for guys in like a little skiff to get back up there on a flood tide. Out here, now here's something that a lot of people don't really see when they're looking on satellite footage. They're just going down the flat, they're like, okay, you know, whatever. Right here's a hole. That's a pretty decent sized hole right there with a sand and grass mixture around it. So that's a really good place for fish to school up and feed on bait. And that's definitely something you want to hit. A lot of guys will get up in here moving down the bank, and that's behind their back. They don't even know that's there. So that's a really good place to try and target fish on that flat. So that'd be definitely something I would go check going on this flat. Now here a little bit deeper, obviously you have a sand and grass mixture, which is a good place for trout especially to hold up. Right here you see there's like a little bit of a, right here in the middle, you see there's a little bit of a depth change that kind of feeds into this little bayou right here, which is another good place to hold up, or for fish to hold up, especially right here on this point would be a good ambush point. You have a sand flat right here, you have a depth change right there that goes to a sand and grass mixture. Going down, same thing here, and then you have a giant hole just out here on the flat with shallow edges, which is a really good place for, like I said earlier, fish to school, bait to hold up, especially on a lower tide when everything is kind of forced into this deeper water. Is a really good place to hit and try and fish. We got a little creek feeding that right here with sand around the edges, so that could be a really great spot for fish to hold up and catch fish. And obviously you have somebody fishing right here, another little creek. So, and then right here, like I said, you have deep water access. Here's the bay. So you have, right here you have a really good way to get on and off the flat. So that would be a place I would check. So now you're seeing kind of what I'm looking at whenever I'm looking on the satellite and trying to find a new spot. And just to reiterate here, you know, that's just kind of what you're looking for on the satellite image is ambush points, which are depth changes, contours, sand and grass mixture, easy access to this flat, which is, like I said, bait fish get up on the flat in the morning, they move off to the deeper water later on in the day, and that's really what you're looking for when you're trying to find a new spot on the map. Now, whenever you get to that new spot, or whenever you're going back to a spot you may have fished last Saturday and you're going out there this Saturday, and you're trying to decide, okay, is this somewhere I want to fish or not? First and foremost, the thing you're looking for is bait, because that's all the fish are there to do is feed, and that's how you catch them is when they're feeding. And if there's not bait there, there's a good chance there's not fish there. So when you're seeing bait, you know, out on the flat popping, and you're seeing mullet jump, and you're seeing the water moving, pushing around, that is something that's going to get me super excited to fish a new spot or fish somewhere again. And another thing is birds. Birds are some of the ultimate predators. When you have egrets and herons wading up in the shallow water, and you got ospreys flying around overhead and diving in the water, and pelicans, that is a great sign, because ospreys are feeding on a lot of times the fish you're trying to catch, and the pelicans and the herons are feeding on the bait that the fish you're trying to catch is eating. So if all that's there, there's a good chance that the fish that you're trying to catch are there. And when you're out on the flat, if you're going around your trolling motor and you're looking down in the water and you're seeing crabs and you're seeing stingrays, and even predators, like I know we get angry when you have dolphins come up on your flat a lot of times. And as long as they're staying away from you, they're not really messing you up too bad. Obviously, if they're right up on you, that can be a little bit of a nuisance. But those dolphins being there is a good sign, because they're feeding on the mullet and they're feeding on the fish that you are currently trying to catch as well. So if they're there, it's for a good reason. They're there. If the predators are there, the fish you're trying to catch are going to be there as well most of the time. Now, that's not always a definite thing. There's been times where I get on a flat and it is just alive, and I don't catch anything. Sometimes it's not because the fish aren't there. Sometimes you're not throwing the right thing. Sometimes they're just not eating artificial. That's just kind of what you deal with. And there's been times where I pull up to a spot where I know there's a school of fish, and it's like a desert out there. There's nothing out there, but you get to those fish and you catch them. So it's not always a guarantee, but more likely than not, when you have that activity out on the flat with the bait and the birds and the predators and everything in the ecosystem is there, more than likely that last piece of the puzzle, which is the fish you're trying to catch, are also going to be there. Now, when you get to that flat and you decide, all right, it's time to start fishing, especially if it's somewhere you've never been before, I really like to cover water. So I'm going to throw something that I can move fast, have the boat moving pretty quick, and just cover water till you can pinpoint where the fish are wanting to be. So that's like a topwater plug, especially if it's early in the morning. That's definitely something you want to throw. A paddle tail bait or swim bait, something you can just throw out and bring back in, cover water. A spoon is something really good to throw when you're trying to cover water and move fast. And then if you're seeing these fish there, like, okay, you know, I've been throwing this spoon and this paddle tail and I haven't got bit, but I just saw a redfish swim right by the boat. Then maybe you need to slow it down a little bit, try and work something slower off the bottom like a shrimp, or take that paddle tail and work it, you know, swim it and let it fall, and bring it back up, swim it and let it fall. Just try and change something up. And when you do get bit, the fish are, you know, sometimes you get to an area and you can throw just about anything and you're going to get bit. But when it's tough and you're trying to figure it out and you do get that bite, think about why you just got that bite. Don't just say, oh, cool, you know, I caught one. Actually figure out, okay, you know what, they just gave me a clue. Maybe they want something on the bottom, like, oh, I got bit whenever I was reeling in that paddle tail and I paused it and it hit the bottom, and as soon as it hit the bottom, I went to move it again and I got hit. All right, maybe try and throw something that you're bouncing off the bottom, like a big TRD or a shrimp or something, because obviously they're keying into that bait on the bottom. Or, you know, whenever you're throwing that spoon and you've been throwing that spoon and chunking and winding it all day, and then you go to reel it in quick because you saw something moving, and as soon as you sped it up, you got hit. Maybe the fish wants something with more of a reaction. They're really on that reaction bite, so move something faster. You really got to just go with what you're being told by the environment. Now, if I go to a new area, especially if I'm really trying to cover water and I'm on a limited amount of time and I really gotta, you know, make it happen. I don't have, you know, maybe I have 2 days before the tournament happens and I can't afford to spend half a day on a flat and not catch anything. If I pull up to that flat and there's nothing going on, I'm gonna leave. Like I said, but sometimes you can still catch them like that, but more often than not, there's nothing really going on there. So, it's really one of those things that, like you even said in your comment, it's one of those things where you spend enough time on the water, you kind of put it all together. And that goes with everything. But if you're looking on the map and you find an area that looks really good on the map and you get there and there's a lot of bait and activity, then more often than not, you know, you're going to have fish there. And another thing I'm going to leave you with is fish to your setup, I guess you can say. So if you have a skiff that you can pole and be super quiet and get up in really shallow water that not everybody can fish, then do that. Now obviously on a higher tide you're going to have more stuff up in that shallow water and you can get even further back up in there and fish those fish that are not as pressured, then do it. But if you're like me and you're in a 22-foot bay boat, you know, unless you can comfortably float somewhere without hitting your trolling motor on the bottom and sliding your boat on the bottom a lot, then, you know, don't try and push back up in somewhere and make so much noise hitting the bottom with your trolling motor in your boat that you're scaring everything around you. So I try and fish 2 to 3 feet of water, maybe, you know, usually about 2 foot of water, give or take a foot, and go from there and see how the fish are reacting. And a lot of times in that little bit deeper water, you're going to have a lot bigger fish and you're going to have a bigger group of fish. The school has moved off to the little bit deeper water, that 3 or 4 foot range sometimes is where you're going to catch them. So, you know, the guys in those bigger bay boats, don't go try and get up there where the skiffs are fishing. And guys in the skiffs, obviously you can fish deep water too, but just fish to your setup. Fish to how you have your boat set up and how you like to fish, and try and refine that down to and better yourself to be able to fish like that better. This video is not going to be quite as long as some of the other ones, but like I said, really you're just going to look for life when you get out there on the flat. That is the most important thing, because if there's no life out there, there's not going to be the life of the fish you're trying to catch. That's really what you're looking for more than anything, is just bait and activity and life. And watch what happens when those birds fly over. You know, if that bird flies over and his shadow is going across the water and then all of a sudden it hits a spot and the water goes crazy when that shadow hit it, and it's out a little bit deeper than you've been fishing and you haven't got bit, move out a little bit deeper. Try and fish some deeper areas. Just watch your surroundings. Watch how everything's playing out. I can't tell you how many times I've been up super shallow, beating the bank, and then, you know, a plane flies over. So, I mean, this is really happening. A plane flies over, his shadow goes across, nothing, hits about 3 feet of water range, and then all of a sudden the water starts moving because that shadow just went over. I go out to 2 or 3 feet of water and start catching them, or vice versa. You're out in the deeper water, all the activities in toward the bank, then move in toward the bank. But it's really just being out there and having a good gut feeling of, you know what, this doesn't look right, time to go to a different spot, or all right, this is how it should be. And sometimes if you're out on a spot and everything looks right and you're trying everything and you're not catching them, don't just, you know, keep on going. Just pick up and move. Just, you know, move to different spots. Sometimes they could, you know, go to a different spot and have one of the best days of fishing you ever had. So I kind of hope that answers your question a little bit. I know a lot of repetitive talking here, but it's not terribly hard. It's just something you kind of figure out, like you said, when you've been on the water, and you can get that good gut feeling and understand how it's supposed to be. And, you know, just time on the water really makes a big difference as well. But thanks for watching this video. Remember, always comment if you have any ideas on videos you'd like to see, or if you have something you can't quite figure out on the water. I might be able to help you a little bit. I really enjoy doing these kind of videos. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Guys, remember, hit that subscribe button. And stay tuned for the next video. We should have some fishing videos coming up pretty soon. Might even go do a little kayak bass fishing this afternoon. So, thank y'all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. And stay tuned for the next one. And bye.